Hello and welcome back to the Complete Web Development Series, where my goal is to take you from beginner to job ready in this one tutorial series. And so it's going to be kind of a long series, but we're going to use a series of projects to teach you progressively how to build your own projects and then get a job and how to function on a team. And so if you're enjoying this series so far, please leave a comment below. That helps me a lot. No matter what platform you're on, that will help me, and comment and like. So let's, without any further ado, get going. I'm going to switch over to my screen. We're going to do a pretty simple video today. What we're going to do is create our index page. So if the user's logged in, we're just going to give them a greeting and the ability to log out. And then we're going to also do the logout page. And so it'll be pretty straightforward today. Let me go ahead and make sure my server is up and running here with sudo /op/lamp/examp or champ and start. And it says that mine are already running, so I'm going to go ahead and clear that. And if you go ahead and go to your editor, and we are going to create two new pages here. The first one, just click plus here. We're going to create index.php. All right, and we're also going to create a logout.php. So there we go. So we have our index.php file open, our logout, and we need our functions.php. That should be all that we need in this video. So go ahead and we can close the Explorer down and give ourselves a little bit more space here. So in the index.php file, this is going to be a fairly simple file. So what we're going to do is open our PHP tags. We'll skip down a few lines, close our PHP tag, and then we'll skip down a few more lines and open up our PHP tags, and we're going to include our foot.php file. And up here in our opening PHP tags, we'll go ahead and include our head.php. The next thing that we want to do is we want to actually find our current user. So we're going to create a current user. Now this will refer to the current logged in user, so we could call it that, but I'm just going to call it current user for short. And we're going to just find that with a function that we haven't created yet. We're going to create it in this video called current_user. That will be a function that we're going to create here in a moment. Now, if that doesn't exist, if there is no current logged in user, somebody just went to the page, so if not current user, then what we're going to want to do is redirect them to the login.php page. Okay, so that is actually, believe it or not, it for our logic on this page. Now we still have to write this current user function, but let's go ahead and do our HTML. So we're going to go outside of our PHP tags here, right here in the middle, and let's do an H2. And in the H2, we're just going to say hello space, and then we're going to do a PHP echo statement, and we're going to echo current _user, and that will be an array, and we're going to say first_name, and then we will go ahead and close that down. So that will say, like when I log in, it'll say hello Curtis. The next thing that we want to do here is we'll just put a link below there, and that will be, we're going to send them to the logout.php, so that'll be the href. And let's do a class equal to button and button primary, and we'll just say log out, and then we'll close that a tag right there. Get rid of that extra space. And that's it. Our index page is actually done, but we need to create this current user function. So let's go to our functions.php file here, and you can scroll down here to the bottom if you want, and underneath our login function, let's create a function called current_user. Alright, and what we're going to do is check if our session exists. Now remember, our login function is actually going to set this login session up inside of this session, the PHP session. Okay, and so what we're going to do is just check if that exists. So we'll say session exists equals to isSet $_session, and then what we're going to look for here is the login session. Okay, the next thing that we want to be able to do is we're going to, if that doesn't exist, then we just want to return false. So what we'll do here is we'll say if not session exists, then we are going to return false, like this. The next thing that we do is if there is a session, we want to look that user up by that ID. Now remember, we're actually storing the ID as the value in this session. And so what we can do is find that user. So let's just first find the ID. So the ID is going to be equal to $_session login session. All right. So the next thing that we can do is find the user by this ID. So we've already done that a lot with the email, so it's going to be pretty straightforward. We'll set up an SQL statement, and this SQL statement is just going to be select star from users where ID is equal to question mark. And then here we'll just say binds, and we'll set that equal to an array with one element in it. We're going to set that element to the ID. So then we can go ahead and get that result. So we'll say result is equal to our query statement, and our query statement we're going to pass in our SQL and our binds, and then our user is going to be equal to MySql SQLi underscore fetch soch, and we will pass in the result to that. So now we have our user from the database. So what we want to be able to do is I'm going to show you two ways to write this. One thing we could do is we could say if user, then we want to return user. Else we can just return false. Okay, and this has to have the $. I don't know how I missed that. So if the user, just return the user. Else, if there's not a user, we're going to return false. Okay, that's totally acceptable to write it like this. The other way is we can use an inline if-else statement that's kind of like a ternary operator. It's called a ternary operator. We could do return, and we can actually just say user and then do a question mark space. And so if there's a user, we're going to return the user. Else, we're going to return false. So this is just an inline way of doing this. This is just it. So this is the condition. So if there's a user, and then the question mark says, hey, this is the condition for that. If it's true, then this is just going to return that user. This colon says, hey, if that's not true, what do you want me to do? Well, we're going to return false here. So then we can actually delete all of that, and we can leave it with this ternary operator. So there's a bunch of different ways to do things. That's why I kind of emphasize that when we were learning the building blocks of PHP or the beginning of PHP, we have a bunch of tools at our disposal that we can use. Whether or not you choose to use a ternary operator in this, I mean, that's personal preference. If you work on a team, they may say, hey, I don't like the way that is. Can you please not do that? And then, if you have a good reason to do it, you can argue your point. If not, just do it how your team that you work for likes to do things. I personally like ternary operators. I don't have a problem with them. I'm just letting you know that there are different styles out there, and you may write this thing completely different than I wrote it, and that's okay as long as it works and it's efficient. Okay, so that is actually our current user function. So all this is going to do is it's saying, look, if there's a session set, so if they've logged in other words, if they've logged in, we want to find that user in the database and then return that user. So this current user will get the current logged in user row from the database as an associative array. Else it's just going to say, hey, there's no logged in user, so return false. So if we go back to the index.php page, right here, this current user is going to store that logged in user into this variable. And if there's not one, it's going to redirect them to the login page. So they can't even see this page if they're not logged in. If they are logged in, then we're just going to echo out hello and then their first name. So it'll be hello Curtis in my case. And then we're going to give them the opportunity to log out right below that. So let's test all of that really quick. I'm going to go back here to my login registration. And you know what, I'm going to create another user. So first I'm going to go to the register, and I'm going to create another row in my database for Tony. And I don't have my database server up and running just yet. So instead, let me see here. I'm just going to go ahead and change Tony to verified manually in the database by putting that verified boolean to 1. So now I can log in as either Curtis or Tony. So let's go back now, and we'll go to the login page. And then what I would like to do here is try login as myself first. We'll hit login. And now that takes us to an index page, and it no longer gives us a 404 because we've created it. And now it says hello Curtis. Now we know we're logged in. It would not allow us to be on this page, and it also wouldn't know my first name. And it knows my first name from that session. We created the session that has my user ID. Then that current user function looks it up in the database, returns that, and now I can use that user to say, hey, you're logged in. So I'm going to go ahead now and let's refresh the page. That doesn't work. So to log out, let's go ahead and create our logout function really quick, just so we can test logging in and logging out. And this should be a very simple process. So what we're going to do is in our functions.php, right here under our login function, let's create another function called logout. And this function is going to be super simple for now. All we're going to do at this point is just unset $_session, and then we're going to pass in the login session. So all this is going to do is destroy this element in the array, the login session element in that sessions array. It will kill that. So let's see what happens now for the logout. So now if I go to well, actually I can't do that yet. We haven't actually finished the logout page, so that's going to be even easier than the login page. We're just going to open some PHP tags, skip down a few lines and close them, and then all we need to do here is include our head.php, and then we're going to call our logout function, and then we're going to redirect them to the login page. So this is only 3 lines of code. That's all we need for our logout page. So they're going to hit this logout page. It's just going to include the head. We don't actually even need to do that. We could just include this functions.php if we want. So let's do that instead, just because we don't need the HTML here. So instead of head.php, I'm just going to include functions, because we need that functions file to use the redirect function and the logout function. All right, so the logout will destroy that session, and it's going to send them to the login page. So now we can test the logout here. So I'm going to click this. It takes them to the login, and before you can even see it happen, it logs them out and redirects them. So now if I actually go directly to the index.php file, crap, that didn't work. So let's see. It should have killed that. So let me take a drink here and look at what I may have done wrong. Let's see, did redirect worked? Let me check that logout function. $_session, login session. Why did this is unset not work? Well, let's go ahead now and just dump and die our $_session here. And see what happens. Undefined variable session. Oh, I know what happened. Okay, so if we look in our head, in our head.php, we use this session start stuff, and we don't actually, when I change this inside of the logout to use functions instead of the head, we're not actually starting our session. So we can either do the session start stuff, or I'm just going to change this back to the head.php. Now if I refresh the page, it worked. You can see that I'm dumping and dying, there's nothing in there. That was the whole problem. It was not starting the session, so it couldn't delete that. So let me go back now and just kind of go through it again. Let me get to the logout. Functions, we'll get rid of this dump and die. Save that. And then let's try to go to the index.php file. And you can see that that automatically redirects us to the login page. So now if I log in, as Tony, now it says hello Tony, and Tony can log out, and I can log in as myself, and now it says hello Curtis. So we can log in and log out now with our forms, so that's working great. I think that's all we're going to do in this video, and in the next video what we're going to do is go ahead and finish up this forgotten password page. So if they've forgotten their password, we will send them a new, like some sort of verification code that they can use to set up a new password. And we could be confident that we're sending it to the right email address because they have verified that email address before, and that's why they are verified in our database. So once we've done that, that'll be the next video. The one after that, not sure exactly what we're going to do there. We only have a couple more videos to kind of finish this stuff up. One of the biggest things we want to be able to do though is add an auto login here, so that if they close their browser down and come back, they don't have to log in again if they have a cookie on their site. Maybe for 30 days or so, we will auto log them in if they visit with the same credentials. It's just a little quality of life thing that we can do. All right, so I will see you in the next video. Peace out.